Sarah Fuller?
What's going on?
Joe Carroll. He escaped from prison earlier this morning.
I'm sorry, he what?
As you may recall, Carroll was convicted in 2003 for the murders of 14 young women who attended the university where he was a professor.
Hello, Ryan. It's Director Franklin, FBI. It's been a while.
I'm not an agent anymore.
I know things didn't end well with the Bureau, but you caught Carroll. No one knows him like you do.
He didn't just eviscerate 14 female students. He was making art. He cut out his victims' eyes as a nod to his favorite works of Poe. The eyes are our identity, the windows to our soul.
Your being here may raise some eyebrows.
The book you wrote. Not to mention my reputation. Who let him have this?
Dear Ryan, I enjoyed your book. Have you ever considered a sequel? Best, Joe.
Who are the women?
We're interviewing anyone who visited Carroll in prison.
112 visitors in the last 2 years, 43 in the last 6 months, 14 visited over 4 times.
Drop the weapon! You don't want to do this.
Lord, help my poor soul.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Lord,
No.
help my poor soul.
No.
It's been a long time.
I'm gonna find them. Nothing is gonna happen to you. Where were the guards when he was chatting online?
There's one recurring name. You're gonna want to see this.
He's been practicing.
Carol is teaching him how to become a serial killer. Has anyone been in touch with Carol's ex-wife?
Hello, Ryan. I need to speak with him alone, please.
That's not possible.
I'm afraid I have to insist.
I'm sorry I didn't call you.
It's been 8 years, Ryan. I got the hint.
Have you heard from her?
She's safe. The last victim.
Sarah Fuller. She's under protection.
I'm sure that upsets Joe.
We have 2 killers out there now. He's finding people to help him on the internet like they're his followers.
Sort of his way of finishing what was started. What was that about in there?
It was personal.
What do you mean personal?
We have to get to Sarah Fuller.
What did she tell you?
Carol's gonna make a move. He wants to finish what he started. That would be Sarah. Sarah! Where the hell is she?
Joe's not looking for his freedom.
He wants to keep killing.
Yeah, he's good at it.
I came alone, Joe! Isn't that what you wanted? Where is she?
It's just the beginning.
Hardy, he'll only talk to you.
So what's my sequel about, Joe? It's going to be a collaboration. If this book ends with anything other than your death, you better plan on a rewrite.
3 bodies were found murdered in the last 6 hours, 1 in Seattle, 1 in Boston, and 1 in New York City.
It was for you. You know about the cult. I like to think of them as my friends. It's important to have friends.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Extra patrol this evening.
Do you have any friends, Ryan? I will be your friend, even though you slept with my wife.
It's your host Sully here, and we are here premiering on the night of Halloween. I got my buddy and filmmaker Elvery Tren Peters on the show.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, both big fans of The Following. You saw this when it was on. I caught up on the DVD seasons that I missed.
Yeah, man.
Recently. I was like, why did I not keep up with this show in college?
Dude, I literally watched The Following from the day it premiered to the day the final episode, which was supposed to be just the season finale. They didn't find out the show got canceled until after they'd already filmed it. So, which even to this day, it pisses me off they canceled that show because it was really good writing.
And then they get Michael Ealy to join the cast. They had just canceled his show, Almost Human.
Yeah, I like that show too.
Great show too.
They canceled that. Like he had, Michael Early back during that period, I mean, he had a couple of
Barbershop,
like,
Sleeper Cell. He was the underground kind of beloved, charismatic dude.
yeah, and when he was given a couple shots at these different shows where he was lead, but they can't, like, for me, it was like it was on Fox, like back then in particular, when it comes to shows that were distributed by Fox would cancel a lot of good shows.
They just were so bad. They took more chances, and it's like they wanted something like X-Files and Millennium back on their show. Lo and behold, Kevin Williamson was a huge fan of their big show 24 and decided, how about I have a Jack Bauer type agent solving a bunch of going against Joe Carroll, who, I kid you not, he basically said, what if Stu from Scream was inspiring a bunch of followers?
I actually know. Now you said, I do remember that quote. Yeah, and
my pal Ryan T. Richardson on Go Tell Someone podcast was able to confirm with him more. Is like, see, yeah, remember how a 24 episode starts with the following takes place? That's why we got the title.
That is funny. But I mean, 24 is like, I love 24.
Likewise.
That's before we get back to the following, that show, I watched it when it premiered, and I love the first season. I was in the middle of moving during like the second and third season, so I kind of like lost in touch with the show. But by the time the fourth season came back around, I was on it till it ended and came back. But I literally, like, every year I go back, or every year and a half or so, I go back and rewatch that series, because it's just, again, that's just another example of great writing. You had, Manny Cotto,
Time Bomb.
Yeah, Manny Cotto did a great job on that, producing and writing.
Howard Gordon's gone on to big stuff. Homeland.
Exactly. Homeland was great. I loved Homeland. I watched that from game to end too.
This show has a lot of that same stuff. It's psychological, it's horror, there's a lot of action-packed shootouts, and then there's the crime mystery, and then you got all these actors from like Law and Order, and my other pal, Daniel Ryan, thinking of you, Daniel, was actually at a Comic-Con, and he, for the life of him, I don't know why, a lot of people know about this show, but kind of seem to forget like what it was called. They just kind of remember, oh yeah, the guy Mark Anthony from Rome was in this, or Kevin Bacon, yeah, he was playing a federal agent. And you think of City on the Hill? No, I'm thinking of this other show from earlier, and this is the one. And he couldn't remember the show he was promoting, but he just was always just like enamored by freaking Purefoy from Rome, and so he's like, oh man, he's so funny, too bad he's playing a bad guy.
I mean, but Purefoy, man, like, if you actually watch like his work, dude, he plays he's good at playing the villain. I mean, you give him
being a naughty guy, yeah.
And like it was with the following, with the first season, the promotion for the first season was huge. Like, I mean, they were really pushing that show, and the first season did great. I mean, the show lasted for 3 years, and
it wasn't even trying to be like Criminal Minds so much. It's like trying to be like a whole different kind of,
well, like, Criminal Mind, that
basically gave everyone the permission. Is like, hey, we still want a Millennium type crowd.
Oh yeah, and like Millennium was, it was a great show, but a lot of people wanted more X-Files, so it didn't really get the chance that it deserved. Like, even though they gave that a conclusion on the X-Files, it wasn't what it really should have been. But again, that's a whole podcast of its own. Actually, on a side note, I actually just met Lance Henriksen finally earlier this year. Yeah, I met him at what was it, Frightmare.
Oh, sweet! I didn't know he was at this one.
He's a regular there. He was there the one before COVID, and then he's back at this one. The dude's hilarious. Like, when he
really is.
When we went to go take our picture together, he had said something. He missaid something, and his aide kind of corrected him. He's like, "Man, I'm just a silly motherfucker." I'm like, I'm like, there's no wrong with being a silly motherfucker. I'm a silly motherfucker. And he's like, well, we're just two silly motherfuckers in it. And like, then we took our picture. He was hilarious. Like, this one of the coolest people you can meet.
That's an earworm. we're all here to have fun.
Yeah, but like the following, man, it had such a huge promotion that first season, and like that first episode, I mean, just
you open up, there's free dead security guards, the psycho type music playing, and
yeah, they have Marilyn Manson's cover "Sweet Dreams." They really pushed that.
And Marco Saiga, who's gone on to work on the new Dexter, had previously,
which was a great ending.
Oh, good. Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll definitely check that new one out. But yeah, he was kind of the go-to TV director, and he did a bunch of other shows. But yeah, he was tired of doing just Vampire Diaries, and Williamson was a fan of his and had him basically be kind of the lead producer and director on this. And I gotta say, they make good use. They go beyond just like the voyeuristic kind of stuff that most of them do. Don't get me wrong; they're all cool formulas in their own right. But like, Criminal Minds will, for instance, show people talking about what's happening while showing the gruesome act happening, and blurring the line between PG-13 and R-rated TV. And here,
let's be honest, man. Like you can say fuck on cable TV now. So I mean, everything's
it is what it is.
Out. Yeah, I mean, if you're paying for cable, I mean, technically by law, only on broadcast channels, like free channels that aren't premium channels, the FCC controls what they say. But technically on premium channels, you could always actually use that kind of language because the FCC actually has no control.
It's satellite owned, so even if
it's a premium, like for example, USA, FX, channels like that, you're paying. Those are premium channels. You're paying for them. So technically,
you get what you paid for.
Yeah,
ching ka-ching.
Exactly. But studios have always respected that because with kids and stuff. But nowadays, I'm a big fan of Sons of Anarchy and the Mayan spinoff. And Mayan spinoff, they have you can lose count how many fucks they say episode.
Yellowstone, I lost track of how many people were streaking or shotgunning each other's faces off.
Yeah, and like 10 years ago, 10 years on Sons, you couldn't do that, but like now
they were afraid that only Comedy Central would do is like after midnight we're showing an uncut classic comedy concert or movie starring Eddie Murphy or
and these shows come on like 8-9 o'clock in the at night, and FX is owned by Disney. That makes it even funnier. It's a Disney owned.
Yeah, Disney is R-rated when it wants to be, and
yep. And people don't realize that Disney's been making rated R movies for years, but they do it under a subsidiary.
Yeah, it was never talked about. Touchstone, what's that? And
yep,
here we are
Disney.
now.
That's Disney. But
what do you think of this cast? You got freaking Iceman, Sean Ashmore from X-Men here. You got Jessica Straub, who's gone on to bigger stuff.
Yeah, they had a great cast. Like
Greg Henry, who's been the go-to in so many Brian De Palma movies.
He's always the villain. I mean, like I think back to Payback with Mel Gibson. Man, that guy's always the villain.
He is a boss. Billy Brown's the Troy. Is just like in the first free episodes before he gets killed. But I was like, hey, I've seen that guy. Now he's on Sons of Anarchy, and now he's on this other similar show called Hostages. And
he was on Dexter.
He was on Dexter too. Renee Elise Goldberry, years before Hamilton, is the serial killer's lawyer. And Jabinga Akanabi, who you might know from The Wire, he's Snoop's psycho partner.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing is, like, so we just talking about what's his name, who was he was on Dexter. He was on. He actually went from Billy Brown. Yeah, he went from Dexter to Sons of Anarchy, right? And if you remember in season 3 of I think it was season 2 or season 3, the crying serial killer.
I think so.
Yeah. That's what's his name?
Season 4, maybe.
Hold on, I gotta tell you. No, it was I can't remember if it was season 2 or season 3 when it was one of the followers, but he was known as the crying serial killer because he would make you think he was so believable. He had tears and all that, you would think he was innocent, but he was.
That's all he had to do is I'm crying.
Michael Irby, right? So that's the name.
Yes.
Irby, right?
Okay. He plays Theo, the hacker who's helping.
No. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not the hacker. Okay. Michael Irby's on here. Yeah.
I can't remember which character he played, but he was always known because his character was like the crying serial killer. He would just like when they had him in
he played Sharp, and he was pretending to be a victim's parent, but really it was an excuse to just intimidate him in public. And he's gone on. I knew him from The Unit back in the day, and then
Michael Irby is he's one of the leads on Mayans now. So that's another FX Sons of Anarchy.
I got to see that one
connection.
still. You might have also seen him recently on Barry and the Expanse, but he was also on Almost Human, and he's just like the go-to. I never know what he's going to do, if he's going to be a guy who's shit talking people or comedic relief or what have you.
the following is the first thing I remember seeing him in, and I knew from watching him in that role just how
he's going to go places.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's not easy. You know, I'm an actor myself, and it's not easy.
You're a great actor.
Thank you. I do try.
It's in your blood, dude. You're great.
But you know, like in that role, I mean, he was able to cry. I mean, like saying he was blubbering and when he was doing those scenes, and it was like a switch. I remember in the scene in interrogation, he's crying. He think he's innocent. Then when they pull out,
why'd you pick me up? Yeah.
Then they pull out the evidence. Damn, it's a switch just like that. I'm like, this dude is amazing. Like that. It's not
1,000%.
There's not easy for an actor to pull that off like that. And I
don't know how any of them go to that place, because some are method and some are just regular, just it's pretend time, but do the backstory. And
it's like, how I was taught, it's all about, you get building the backstory, finding that, that own personal connection you have, you can, the emotion you put in with that scene or that character. But like with him, like anytime he's in something, I tend to check it out, because again, he's just one of those actors that, he's been around.
He's done a lot of very underrated indies that have been underseen.
Yeah, he's been acting for quite a bit, and like he's been around for years, and like he's really just in the last 10 years really starting to really make his mark. And I'm glad
he deserves an Emmy by now.
Yeah, I'm glad he's on Mayans. His character has done this in the first 4 seasons. His character's had a lot of twists and turns with his character.
I can't wait to see it.
It's on Hulu, man. You just go watch it on Hulu.
I just gotta get for 5 other shows that I'm binging.
Hey, I'm the same way, dude. I just recently
5 episodes a day. Go.
I finally went back and caught up on Fear of the Walking Dead. I kind of stopped watching that in season 3, but I went back over a couple weeks ago and finished season 3. Ended up liking it. Loved season 4 on. When they got the new showrunners, they did a good job with the writing. But back to the following. They
use kind of similar lighting though.
Yeah, like back to the following. Like it was such a great show. Like I've always liked stories about serial killers, the mind of serial killers. The effects that make a person become like that.
We were first introduced. We think, man, I think Bacon's character, FBI agent Hardy, he keeps going back and everything, and he's now an alcoholic. He might end up becoming. You're almost afraid that he might be a killer.
That's where they were going with that character. The point of the dynamic between Hardy and Ryan and Joe, was that the reason why, if you remember the backstory, when they first met, they were actually, friends. They got along because they identify with each other. And
he's in love with the serial killer's wife.
When they mess around, and then
that's good casting. I was already a fan from her from Justify. I'm like, who is this bombshell? Oh, nice. I remember her. Oh, wow. Is she going to be a victim? Is she going to be the person he saves every week, or is she going to be a strong female lead? I don't know until I take the plunge.
She was kind of a mixture of things. Like by the end of
she has to play along, make him think, you're in control, while she plans to get her kid out of harm's way.
She ended up becoming a manipulator to a degree, and that makes sense, being in the relationship with the kind of person she was in.
1,000%.
He, like Joe himself, was a master manipulator. And so, you don't end up with somebody like that, because she's a strong character. He's
almost in he's her Sozy, usual suspects territory. He's making everyone think all this stuff.
And his wife, he's successful. He's in awe of her and everything. But the dynamic between Ryan and Joe was always like this. Like they identify with each other, particularly in season 2. When you have them at the end of the season, and they're actually both in that.
After the second episode, you're ready for all implausible stuff to happen. You're just like, okay, who's going to be the inside guy? Who's going to be the other serial killer taking over?
The first episode, you have this lady burn herself to death while quoting Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
You actually have this man, the one survivor from
the Poe syndicate. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the one survivor from his killing spree. He literally breaks out of prison, has his followers kidnap her. He tortured her to death, then turns himself in just to fuck with Ryan, Kevin Bacon's character. Like, and
see what I did there? I'll be out of here in 5 hours. It's like, what?
Because you never know who's who with that show. That's what I loved about it. And then but the dynamic, going back to the dynamic between those two characters, the whole point was showing how Ryan in many ways is just like Joe, but he's not a sociopath like Joe. He doesn't have a need to kill. He does admit to Joe before Joe dies in season 3 that he does take the satisfaction in killing. But he's not going to go out and just kill some random person. He's only going to kill somebody who really deserves it.
Oh yeah. And when Theo comes along, the hacker, he's trying to be like Strauss, who basically mentored both him and Joe.
This week marks the anniversary of Joe Carroll's death.
6 people were killed.
Are these your cult boys or a new fan club?
They said Joe Carroll lives.
And where is he?
Joe Carroll's dead.
Don't lie to me.
No!
And so at this point, everyone has their own agenda, and you don't know if they'll be killing each other because they want to be serial killer number one, or if they want to form their own cult and complement each other. Hey, here's someone who I'm giving you permission to kill.
And Theo was a special case too, because what really set him off with Ryan was remember, Theo, when his wife finds out about him, he kills his wife and drugs his kids, and then when he's talking to Ryan on the phone, Ryan,
it's a very gruesome show, guys.
Yeah.
So trigger warning.
Yeah, this is not for the weak-hearted. This show,
even when they don't show anything, it will fuck with your mind. There's one day where I was catching up on episodes. I'm like, I really don't want to watch it right now. I'm really skull fucked from last week.
Yeah, because this show really delves deep into the minds of sociopaths and psychopaths.
Even the other degrees of it, they'll have the lawyers who are like, I do not want to represent them. And then you got Sprague Grade in here as the Carrie, who's an old tabloid reporter who dates Ryan, and then the main FBI agent. And then she's like, oh shit, he's using my tabloids to gain more attention. I better stop giving him a moment of my time.
Yeah. That's what serial killers have done that in the past.
Bundy, Manson, yeah.
Yeah, they like using the media that helps them get their message out there.
And the FBI is beside itself, because then you got freaking, Mike Coulter years before being in the Halo web series, and Luke Cage, here he is the main. Now he's on a similar show called Evil, which deals with serial killers, but here he's a supervising guy, and he loses an eye.
I haven't even watched Evil yet, but I know that it was on Fox, and then Fox canceled it.
Yeah, CBS had it, and then they put it on Paramount Plus. I can't get into it.
but Paramount Plus being a streamer, I could just think about the freedom they have now to
they probably do. It probably got better. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Valerie Cruz from Alphas is here. She's the Latina gal who's closeted, who's
that's on my list to eventually check out when I get around to. Like you, I got a bunch of shows to get through myself. I got
200 and counting. I like how she goes from being Ryan's bureaucrat to she kind of takes the hit. Okay, they're pressuring me to step down. We can save both your job and get these guys from winding up on the 6 o'clock news again with 5 more bodies to their name. But it's interesting how she becomes it becomes kind of a home invasion show after a while, where she's having to.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, that was season 2, wasn't that?
Season 2, and then in 3, there's some more endangerment. It's just no one, even when they retire, they're never away from trouble. It's trouble always.
But going back to Theo though, man, again, what sets Ryan off with that character is one, he asks him, why couldn't you just leave your family alone? Theo tells him, because I control their fate. Like this, man, this is not this serial. That's what serial killers do. It's all about
right. You
power,
can't trust them.
It's about power, being in control. Basically, you are in a sense playing God, to a degree. You are the master of this person's fate, and he willfully shows that. And then also he threatens to tear his family, his life down piece by piece, which he does try.
And you're used to seeing who might the inside guy end up being, because it's all set up, especially with Warren Cole's character. Remember, he plays the crooked deputy in season 1.
Yeah,
you've seen him in everything. He was on Shades of Blue as the internal affairs guy who's sexually obsessed with J-Lo. He was the crooked Secret Service guy he's always a crook. Now he's like the only nice guy he's on Yellow Jackets.
He's a character actor, man. Like those,
Warren Cole. I love to hate him, and I don't have anything against him. He's just smug one minute, and the next thing I know, he's drowning somebody.
if you really hate a character, that means
they did their job.
Yeah, and that character is supposed to be hated. Yeah, that means that actor really did his or her job. To get that character across. There are some people out there who hate characters just because I disagree with something they did, or they're kind of the main
they're in
character.
The gray, they're an anti-hero.
Yeah, they're like, I always go back to Breaking Bad, and people hated Skylar. Like, why hate this woman?
Why do you hate her? She's in an unhappy
think about it. Yeah, I love the Walt character, but think about it. Her husband is cooking meth, and he's
Breaking Bad fans can sometimes be like freaking Rick and Morty, where they're not in on the joke. I had one guy argue the other day, I'm in the Hamlin camp. I'm like, well, you're kind of not supposed to like Hamlin anyway. Good or bad.
But it's like, she's married to a guy who's cooking meth and working with cartels,
and does business with Aryans.
And people getting killed left and right. So she had every right. She had every reason to flip out. The woman she got a son, and she just had a baby. And these people, they cut people's heads off. So come on.
You're right. Who are we kidding here?
Yeah, but and Theo's character, like looking at Joe's character never wanted to kill Ryan. He was always trying to basically convert Ryan. And in the end, even though Joe dies on death row, when Ryan admits that he takes satisfaction in killing, that makes him content with his fate, because
he's done all the damage he can, and now
because he sees, because honestly, I can't remember if he actually said it or not, but is always hinted that he sees Ryan as his ultimate legacy. He's somebody. He's the one person.
When Ryan finally shuts him out, that does actually cripple him to some extent.
Because Ryan is the one person he actually identifies with out of everybody on the planet. That's the only person he actually truly identifies with, and Ryan identifies with him too. That's why he hates him so much, because he knows. Especially like going back to season 2, I was saying that I think it was the season finale, when Joe and Ryan were both at the table tied together. They're basically, with his wife. His wife was there too. Basically, they were kind of having like this argument over
we're two sides of the same coin when we're really not, but he wants it to be.
But in that was the scene where even Claire kind of realizes that Ryan is kind of like Joe, because they identify and agree with so many things. It's just that Ryan doesn't believe in killing innocent people, because that's just crazy.
Right.
But again, he doesn't mind. In the final episode of season 3, which ended up being the last episode, when he finds out about that
freaking Diane Neal, you might know as Casey from SVU.
Yeah, SVU, yeah.
It's the crooked FBI gal, and she's like, but you're not going to kill me, are you? I'm going to kill you because you're behind all this.
Yeah, he finds out there this whole kind of what bureaucracy of high level serial killers and shit. So he's like, yeah, he kills her in the hospital, fakes his death.
She wants to be basically the number one FBI supervisor gal and get a promotion by taking all these bribes from these serial killers. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah. And he strangles her in the bed, and and that that's what pissed me off the most about the show being canceled, because that, if you really go back and
it could have lasted 2 more years totally, because
a show like that,
he can't be near his girlfriend, his old girlfriend Claire, who was who was Joe's woman, was in witness protection and had to fake her death originally. It's like, man, it's like all of them had to
that show could have went maybe like 5 seasons to tell a complete story, I think, like, because at the end of season 3, that
in my mind he's still on the run, probably happier, but lonely.
He's out there hunting down these serial killers. Instead of arresting them, he's killing them. That was the whole point. Like, I was going back.
He said he implied it before he came back. I can't be an FBI guy anymore.
Again, that was the whole going back to the dynamic between Ryan and Joe. I honestly think that's what Kevin Williams was trying to do. Going back, it goes back to 24. I love 24 so
there's
much.
Jack Bauer, then there's Curtis, then there's Tony, then there's Chloe, and
going to Jack, right? Jack.
He hates everything that he is, and he's the only one who knows how to scrub the floor and use all these dangerous weapons.
Yeah, and like he's sacrificed so much just to keep people safe. And yeah, I like just to go on like.
The minute he sees a dead body, he'll go on a killing spree. It sets him off.
I'll go back to season 7 of 24, and the final episode of that season. Jack basically sums himself down. He says, he believes, there are laws for a reason. Laws should be followed, and there's a purpose for them. But him being the person he says, if I see a terrorist have the bus full of hostages, I can't fully quote it off the top of my head, but he basically says there are procedures. Yeah, but there are procedures for that. There are laws and rules you're supposed to abide by, and you're supposed to. But in his heart, his heart wouldn't allow him to just leave him there and die. He has to try to do something. That sums his character down. Like, yeah, he knows a lot of the shit he's done is wrong. He even says in season 7,
he's not proud of it. He's always accepting the minute anyone slaps handcuffs on him. Is like, I'm going to go away for a bit.
Well, he tells the senator at the beginning of season 7 that the senator who's trying to have him prosecuted through the Senate, he tells him that, look, I know, the things.
I know how you see this.
Yeah, like, I don't like the things I do. I wish there wasn't a reason for people like me to exist, but this is the world, basically. Like, if I could go back and change some of the things and not do the things I've done, yeah, I would. I have a bunch of regrets, but at the same time,
I wouldn't have been a spy. I wouldn't have been even a Delta Force guy.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I didn't do these things I did, these people would be dead. And at the end of the day, my job is to save lives. It's like we were talking about before we came on the podcast. We were talking about
all these people want themes that matter, that explode.
Well, like I was saying, like before we came on, we were talking about prison reform, and is prison really a place where you go to reform people, or is it a place where you just lock people away?
Does its name actually stay true to that, or is it just a cover for something else?
Yeah. Nothing's black and white. Everything's gray. Like, as you were talking about before.
It's all morbid.
But going back to the following, that's basically what I think Kevin Williams. The show is canceled, so we'll never truly know. But I think from how
he's definitely proud of what they took. He noted how he was playing a lot of pranks with the directors. He's like, how would you do it this way? Ooh, we could get really morbid this season. So I think he wanted to be really playful, and he was just honored to just work with all these.
True. You had people like Kevin Bacon, Sean Ashmore. You had Pugh.
Those are just now getting into it. Go ahead and buy the whole thing on Amazon. If you love Monica Gabriella Kernan, who you might know as the crooked cop in Dark Knight, and who's now one of the feds on Power TV show. If you love Leslie Bibb, if you love Carrie Preston, if you love what's his name? I just had their name. We already mentioned Michael Irby.
Definitely.
Warren Cole.
Even
Felix Solis. He's this guy who's been all these things.
Yeah, they had those throughout the 3 seasons. They had a lot of people on there. What's her name?
Jun Lee was the
Connie Connie Nelson played Lily.
Yeah, if you love her from the superhero movies and
she's been in Gladiator. She's been in so many movies, man. Like she's Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino.
She's really underrated. And Lee Jun Lee, the Asian hostage, she's now on Quantico and was on the Exorcist TV show. Is like all if you want a who's who of future primetime TV actors there.
People within the last 10 years, because that show was canceled in
Encanto. Remember, he's like one of the if I pulled up a photo of him, he's Paul, one of the other followers, and he's like engaging in all these sexual threesomes, and it's kind of interesting seeing
Emma, that's Emma's boyfriend for season 1. She kills him,
and it's just so funny. He's like, it's not a gay thing. It's like, well, dude, who's the judge? You're all fucking and killing each other, so it doesn't really matter. But he's now on The Cleaning Lady. He was the vice president on Designated Survivor. Yeah, all future, hopefully future A-listers. All these guys are underdogs. They are all great.
They're great. I mean, like I say, actors in the last 10 years since that show's been canceled for what, 9 years now.
Yeah, 2015.
2015. Yes, almost 10 years. So what?
It's getting there.
Yeah, but it premiered in 2013. No, it was canceled in 2015. Are you sure it was 2015? Season 3.
Yeah, 2013 and 2015.
Okay, my bad. It was premiered in 2013.
I couldn't keep up because there's so many other violent shows on at that time that I was addicted to, and it really is above average. Like you're not going to know what you like or don't like going in. I personally, Elvery's already hit the nail on the head here, gang, with how it gets you into the psych and the themes are digestible. Well, I also love the nods. The carving up that one FBI guy is like, that was a total 7 love letter.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, man.
You feel so sad for him. The actor, without even crying, just his eyes start squinting and his hands start shaking. You're like, I feel just as helpless as him.
One of the most fucked up scenes on that show was actually when Sean Ashmore's character Mike, when it actually Lily, Connie Nelson's character, live streams her killing his dad.
Family. Yeah.
And he's always at the FBI command
and he ends up killing a bunch of those guys. And
he kills her. He straight up murders her.
He murders her, and Ryan looks the other way. He's like, I'm not going to report that. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, and he tries to get him not to do it because he doesn't want him to kill someone.
He doesn't want him to deal with the darkness that elapses in his soul. He's already Mike had told him earlier that his family already wasn't on speaking grounds, and he now doesn't even know what to feel now that anyone he had a connection to is gone. It's just like, man.
But like I said, like you said, like I hit on the nail about the psyche of the show. I mean, that's what I was trying to.
That's why everyone likes this.
But going back to what I was saying about Ryan and Joe, just to actually put a pin in that real quick, and how the whole, again, we'll never know for sure because the show was canceled, so we didn't get to see the full story. But I really feel like the whole point of that dynamic was setting up, because Ryan, I mean, by the end of, again, the last episode, he's murdering serial killers, and he's not arresting them. He's killing people in cold blood because he feels they deserve it. And he basically goes to the transformation where, like, everything Joe said about him is kind of true. Remember, after Joe dies, he goes to a bar and he literally fantasizes he's having a drink with Joe at the bar. So I mean, like,
I remember.
Right after Joe's executed. I mean, because when Joe dies, he doesn't admit it, but you can see it in Kevin's facial expressions. He feels he's lost a part of himself. Because again, every hero,
he's only taken over his life for who knows how many years.
Well, remember, every hero needs a villain, right? Like, a hero is defined by their villain.
Right. Batman doesn't exist without the Joker.
Exactly. with him, he for the whole time through the first 3 seasons, he wants Joe dead. He wants Joe gone. He wants him out of his life. When Joe actually dies, he there for him. There's actually emotion there, compared to compared to his wife, who's glad he's dead. But yeah, and that shows, like, without that, that counterpart to Ryan, he kind of needs to go find another. So now that, first there's Strauss, and then he finds out about these high level serial killers and, and high level positions. And he's like, I'm going to start going after these guys now. And that was setting him up to be, again, like the antithesis, not the antithesis, but kind of like Joe, but again, like
on his same level.
Well, yeah, kind of like, basically the anti-hero. He goes from the hero to an anti-hero, which for fans, he's going out there killing.
He would practically have to be kind of even like Voight on Chicago PD at this point, where it's like, I can't even call you an anti-hero, but you're doing some bad things.
I don't even really watch that show, but from time to time, but that dude he's just dirty, man. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, no, he's a prick. That's what I'm saying. Is like, you can't call him an anti-hero anymore.
No, that dude's just, one episode, he kills the dude. He has to dig his own grave and shit. Like, that's some cold blood shit.
I know. He's pretty much, he just gets away with it because he doesn't take any bribes like Vic, on the Shield.
Now the Shield, boy, man, that's
a trip too.
That's a podcaster too. Like that show, my mom loved that show. I remember that show.
Oh, I'm surprised she got through it. It's morbid.
Oh no, like my mom was actually. I remember that I watched it from time to time, but she was on that show. She was a big Michael Chiklis fan when I was a little kid. The most
anti-comic.
Well, when I was a little kid, me and her used to watch the commish when I was a little kid. So we both been fans of him since then. But the Shield, like that took him to a whole nother level, boy. That
opened up all the other doors. Yeah.
The Shield's the Shield, and that actually. What's the name? He went to create Sons of Anarchy, started on that show. So
yeah, they're technically in the same universe, remember? Because
not the same universe, but like, what's his name?
They are, because remember one of the 49ers gangs.
Well, no, like he used some of those things, but they're not the same universe. But he did pay homage to the Shield. Like, what's his name?
Well, the actors appear, and it kind of gets a little meta because if you look at the prison cells, they're watching what seems to be footage from the Shield.
But remember though, what's the name who got blown up on the Shield? He dies the exact same way on Sons of Anarchy.
Johnson. Yeah, he has homages.
That was the real connection between the Shield and Sons of Anarchy. Because that's what got Sutter his first big writing job, and that since he worked with FX during writing on that show.
They always had their number handy. And like you said earlier, everyone always acts like when there's a new crime show, oh, you're doing a takeoff on Breaking Bad or Sopranos. I think every story's been told.
Honestly, people don't give Oz much, but it started with Oz, and then you had.
I see more Sopranos of Oz on shows like Ray Donovan, Mayans, definitely from what I've seen, and definitely Power TV show.
I follow Power from beginning to end. That was a great show. I've watched some bits of the spinoffs here and there.
You're gonna love the part 2 and 4. Part 3 is kind of
see. So I Ghost his son. So I really hated his son because like
a lot of us did, but like you see such a different side.
The kid is the actor. He's brilliant, and like he's a great, like I said, if you hate a character that so much, that means the actor's doing a good job. For me, it's like Tyreek.
You finally see a different side of Tariq on that one, but I think you'll just love it for Mary J. Blige and Method Man.
Oh
I didn't know they could act so well.
Oh yeah, Method Man's been acting for years, man. Like go back and watch Belly with
he's good in Belly, but he was often like a supporting guy, and like, man.
No, like he has some real acting chops, man. He's like he's known for like either the gangster roles or the funny roles.
Brief like 2-part episodes and everything.
Yeah, but go back to the Wire. I mean, he was on the Wire.
That's where I mainly knew him from outside of his music. I was like, hey, Cheese.
Yeah, Cheese. Yeah. But yeah, like it started with Oz, and then you had Sopranos and the Wire, and then
so what's the next edgy serial killer show they could do following?
Every story's been told. It's just reinvention, right? I mean, everything we
have a different hook, have a different quirk.
Yeah. There's so many different, because again, just going into the psyche of those kind of people. I mean, there's so much you can explore with that. I mean, there's because like with me, like with Janice, right? Like,
great serial killer premise.
Yeah, like with me, is like the whole idea behind Janice, at least the main theme that I'm working on, with the story is like, trauma is like a virus, right? Trauma trickles down.
Yes.
It affect people in all kinds of different ways. And, you know, with Janice, the whole point of that story was to show how abuse drives a person to do things or become different things, you know, because, you know, trauma causes fragmentation, and fragmentation is a real psychological thing that's hard to come back from. When somebody goes through trauma or
Sometimes
PTSD,
there is no end game. Yeah, to just
I mean, like even people who go through PTSD and get help and get better, like you get better, but you're never completely healed. Once something's been shattered, you can't put it back together in the same way. You got to rebuild it. So I mean, trauma is like a virus. It trickles down, it affects people in different ways, and it causes people to do all kinds of
stupid
things,
decisions they would never make otherwise.
Exactly, because again, their psyche and their sense of self, their psyche and their sense of self is gone. So I mean, that's
and if the sense of self has like zero confidence, oh man, it's
I mean, that's how these cult leaders hook a lot of people, man. They
definitely did that pretty well. It was just
that's what Joe did, man. He preyed on people's, insecurity.
They hired even the lowest common denominator. They hired private security who had no problem killing someone illegally. They hired all other kinds of violent people.
And in the end, Joe didn't give a shit about none of his followers. I mean, the whole point.
They were just there for him to spread his wicked.
But the thing is, though, the whole point, if you really break down his character and everything that he was doing. And in season 2, when he takes over that other cult, and has even more followers than before. Yeah, he tries to really start to spread his message then. Particularly remember he kills that he has that philosophy, talk with that priest or the preacher, and about.
And he takes advantage of all the televangelists, and they go right into his trap, and he's like, he's gonna slaughter you on TV,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Joe's character on that show, everything he did was all about Ryan. It all revolved around him. Everything he did was
rhyme and reason.
Exactly. So he didn't give a shit about none of his followers. Like Emma, who was his main follower, who I hated. I was glad when his wife killed her. Because I was.
There's a plot. If one complaint went on way too long, it's like, okay, I get it. She's gonna fuck everything that moves.
Yeah, she's crazy as hell. She would do anything for Joe.
She's gonna change her blonde appearance to something more brunette and go out. And the twins, oh my god,
dude, that
his wife's twins. He's a good actor, but man, that also went on a little too long.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one reason why they killed off one of them like they did, so he can just kind of focus on
the mission is half complete. Now I gotta wait till next season.
But again, Connie Nelson's character, the mom, Lily, she's the one who really that crazy psycho fuck family there. She was
I love that terminology. Psycho fuck.
Yeah, she was the one who kept that. She was the centerpiece of that family. So when you take her away, fractures with the twins. So you have to kind of really get rid of one of them, because
just to have some half satisfaction.
Yeah, but the death of one of them, drives the other twin into this whole arc with Sean Ashmore's character Mike. Which I think was done pretty well in season 3. But again, back to Joe's, everything revolved around Ryan. Emma was his main follower, but she was obsessed with him. But even toward the end, she was realizing he doesn't really give a shit about me. He just cares about Ryan and his wife. Again, why she tried to kill his wife, even though he specifically said, "Don't mess with her, don't do anything to her." But that's what he did. He would prey on their insecurities, like most cult leaders. They're master manipulators. But again, everything was about Ryan, and in the end,
all about Ryan.
Yeah, and so when they kill Joe off in season 3, and you're thinking, well, damn, you're killing off the main villain, the head guy. I mean, his story's done. When Ryan admits, like I said, to him that he takes satisfaction in killing, and then going back to that conversation they had at the end of season 2, that solidifies everything. He literally remember he has the prison. He has hostages in the prison. He takes over that room, kills the guard, burns his eye out with a stun gun.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I love that scene, man, because I was like, damn, like, that was his thing. He would
and then he tries to have all the prisoners fight him. That got a little too Running Man for me, but that was fun.
Well, I mean, it's just great writing. And then like when Ryan admits that to him, Pufoy,
Purefoy is just dynamite in this role. This will always be one of his top 10 roles.
You see him in that scene just release, like, all the anxiety, all the angst, because, he knows he's about to die, but he feels like he isn't fulfilled yet,
Yeah,
when Ryan admits
he's just getting started. This is the warm-up, so to speak.
Yeah, but when Ryan admits that, he just lets out this, breath, and everything's, he's content at that point. He gives up. Ryan punches him, but he just takes and gives up without any fuss. And then he ultimately wins again because Ryan is there when they go to execute him. And when he sees Ryan, he lets out another breath of just letting it go. Because Ryan is his legacy.
Yeah, and without the legacy. Now, hopefully the legacy of the show itself does live on. I would love it if someone like
I think
AMC or what have you just picked it up.
So the show is about cults and serial killers, right? The show is, I think, in my opinion, is a cult favorite because fans didn't want the show to be canceled. I mean, they tried to get another network to pick it up to finish it, but
if Shout or any of those other Blu-ray companies want to do a Blu-ray remaster, that it's definitely a needed one. It has some cool special features. It has some, like you say, influence on other stuff. Williamson did do a similar show like this that lasted one season called Stalker, but it seems like, I don't know. Guys we grown up with who have.
But at the same time, man, you got Kevin Bacon. I mean, like, come on, you get Kevin. Yeah,
Bacon. I don't think this was gotten City on a Hill had no one seen him.
This was Kevin Bacon's very first TV series.
Yeah, he had. Yeah. Directed episode of his wife Kyra's show, the Closer, but that was
which was a good show too. But yeah,
this was
it. Yeah, that was I mean, she's always been a great actor to me, and like that was a good
Hearts
show.
and Souls, Born on the 4th of July, it's great.
Yeah, and then of course that transferred into Major Crimes with what's her name from
Battlestar and Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, that was ended up being a good spinoff of that. But I mean, like this was his first television show. He didn't do TV at this time. And I mean, like I said, the first
we can credit him as one of many film stars who broke the mold. It's like you can exist on both screens.
I mean, like I said, the first season promotion for it was insane. The first season had
I was losing track of how many networks were doing original stuff. They were trying to keep up with the pay channels. I was just like, whoa. And now back to network TV. I'm like, now we want to do what the cable shows are doing too.
Yeah, I honestly think Fox really dropped the ball canceling this show because like it was just such a good show. I mean,
once they take it away, it's like, what do you have other than Simpsons and a few other shows? It's like they don't have enough content after a while, and it's like, well, if you keep canceling it, there won't be.
A lot of their, particularly before they sold to Disney, man, a lot of the shows that they were like, distributing, they didn't actually produce them. They were just the distributor.
They were just buying them, but like,
but of course, with you being the distributor, you're the one who determines if the show gets canceled or not. And like I said, Fox, particularly at that time, if you had to kind of give a show really 2 seasons to really see if it's really worth doing, like the first season, unless the first season is just like no ratings, it's just no traction whatsoever,
right?
I can understand it. But if you have a show, I mean, most shows don't pick up really until the second, really third season.
And you mentioned The Shield. What I loved about Sean Ryan's writing on those kinds of shows is he never let networks determine when a story ends. He always wrapped it up enough to where you could be satisfied at the end of whatever season. And I think more TV execs got to do that instead of just having a last minute, Prison Break type, plot twist. And you're like, no.
And speaking of Prison Break, I love it. I never got into it. That's one of the shows I never got into.
I think you'll dig it. It's almost as bad shit as this.
I like the actors from the show, but I tried watching when it premiered. It's just for some reason it couldn't get any traction with me.
Same here. And much like the following, it had like a lot of people talking shit about it online despite high ratings and user scores. And so I waited till it was all like when they were bringing it back, and I went through it. I was like, this could exist in the same universe as 24 for me.
I mean, it really could. And like, but like going back to shows, like, I mean, even the 24 was a hit from the first season, but I mean, if you really look at the story,
they almost canceled it halfway through. And yeah,
I mean, but because it was
DVD sales gave it.
I mean, it was the first time that anybody ever tried doing a show where literally every episode is real time. I mean, when it was like 8:30 on the show, it was actually 30 minutes into the show, it was actually 30 minutes in real life. I mean, no
they
show
couldn't
ever
do
did
any shortcuts, so they had to be. I'm sure it was a nightmare being a production assistant looking for continuity.
I mean, you
got to reshoot that. Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean that show. I mean, you had to have all kinds of continuity people around because that show. I mean, again, every episode is 1 hour in the day, and you have to have 20.
Yeah, to study the film footage as soon as you get home after work is like.
Yeah. And with 24, it was always the first 12 episodes is the A plot, and then the last 12 are the B plot. They always had those two plots in the same season, and that was always made it interesting because you never know what the twist was going to be. It would look like it was this in the beginning, then nope, it's completely something else. This other aspect comes in there. And like, I mean, even with 24, the story itself didn't really take off really to season 3. Season 3 was a game changer for the show. Like I said,
that's like, where now the rules were all beyond just breaking. Now is like there's all these other elements that can collide with each other and might ricochet and cause more attention.
I mean, like going back to like Star Trek Next Generation, that everyone knows that show, there were times they were talking about canceling that show in the first 2 seasons, but when season 3 hit, that was
when you
when
accept
the show
your own
got popular.
formula, when you just take a risk, is like it gets even more annoying when people will complain about serialized TV now and then complain when something becomes formulaic. It's like, well, you gave them no creative freedom.
I mean, that would be talking about Next Generation, the first 2 seasons. I mean, that was, part of it because, when the first season, Roddenberry really still had creative control over things, and he was really adamant against the crew having interpersonal conflicts, but that's not realistic.
And he was losing his mind at that point because he was of old age. So half the time he would say that's a great idea, and then his awful lawyer would rewrite something, and he wasn't
that lawyer itself, that dude was fucking insane. But
he was a dick.
Yeah, he really was.
And Rick Berman didn't help either by saying, I only want people who are handsome and sexy on here. It's like, what the hell?
Rick Berman, there was definitely some dark
perverted old man.
But I also got to give him credit though. I mean,
at least he made some good careers, but that's all I give him.
Yeah, and he helped keep that show going, and I give the guy credit because Paramount really pushed him to do. I mean, he didn't want to do. I liked Enterprise, but he didn't want to do Enterprise. They really kept pushing.
Neither did Brandon Braga. He admitted, I'm out of ideas, but only I know how to write like this. So I guess
the Paramount kept pushing on them more Star Trek.
Otherwise, they'd lose the contract. So it does make you wonder: had they given it to someone else, would it have followed the continuity?
Enterprise was good. I
love everything Trek, dude. It's all good.
But I find it kind of ironic that they kept pushing more Star Trek, then bam, we're gonna stop doing Star Trek. I think we got too much Star Trek right now. People are kind of burnt out.
It's like they milked it until
that's what happens. Exactly, that's what happens when you try to milk a franchise for everything.
With Fox, I mean, they're doing a good job with the Orville because they're bringing in fans who like Star Trek parodies as well as weird sci-fi comedy.
I mean, really, that's Disney now. But remember Fox was going to cancel that show, but Disney put it on Hulu to save it.
Right.
So, I mean, I give Disney credit on that because at least
they want something else that's just like their super, because they have all this extra money because they have free advertising already with anything Star Wars or Marvel related. So yeah, it does make you wonder who has any strings left to play that they can do a lot of other kind of creative endeavors. So.
Well,
hoping for the best.
Well, I mean, like you see it, man. Streams. That's where the competition's at now. I mean, like all streams are fighting for new content. You know, they're
You're
hungry
seeing
for
what shows to resurrect and which ones to continue as a farewell movie.
well, I mean, I go on Netflix and like Amazon. So I'll go through like, okay, let me see what they got on there. I'll see things like they actually made that. Like that's actually a good idea or a good story, but it just surprises me, like because there's so much. Like there's literally this countless content out there.
And fortunately, the management has changed enough for those, so you don't really have as much of the expires in 10 days anymore. I'm like, good, because I'll get to it in 2 years.
Yeah, but like like I said, like a lot of shows. I mean, even in today's today's part of in the industry in films and television, most shows you had to give it like one or two, well not one, but at least 2 seasons to really see if it's really, in my opinion,
I can only hope they can get more patient,
because they like a lot of, like I'll take Netflix for example. They put a lot of money into these shows. They put a lot of money in Cowboy Bebop. They put a lot of money in Resident Evil.
Even some of these psycho thrillers and other shows and cyberpunkish type stuff, and they just did not give it a chance, knowing damn well filming was
Altered Carbon. Altered
Carbon was great.
I
There's
love that
another one
show.
with Renee Elise Goldberg. We were just talking about it. She's great on that too.
Yeah, they put a lot of money into these productions.
Archive 81 is like an underground hit right now, and it's been canceled.
Yeah, it's like
Bebop.
You're putting all this money into these productions, and because
it sucks, we want the Wall Street money, but we don't want Wall Street running it.
Well, I'll take Cowboy Bebop for example. I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, and that's one of my favorite animes. And like so, I like the show. They stayed, in my opinion, they really stayed true to a lot of the source material, the spirit of the show. They did have some twists there, but you got to keep in mind that every single show or movie that's made from either a book or comic book or anime or whatever, it's an adaptation. Adaptation is never going to be 100% pure. I think The Watchmen was the only like comic book film that was almost, to my memory, besides one change, everything else was basically straight.
For Vendetta was pretty close, but
those are
exceptions. We have these exceptions.
Yeah, but like I said, even with Watchmen, they still made a change in the story. But they're all adaptations. Like I remember being younger, I hated like some things they did with the early Marvel films, or like X-Men and Spider-Man, certain things like okay.
And then we look at it from a film perspective. We're working with both people who are fans of the comics versus ones who have only seen the cartoons but don't follow anything.
Yeah, when you actually like I remember we got
to wrap this up, guys. By the way.
Yeah. Well, okay. Before we wrap up, did you have Yaki when you were at UTA?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. So like. Yaki, like my first week in his class, in his intro class, he says, once you step in this class, basically when you start, you'll never look at films again the same way, film or television. And that's absolutely, once you actually get into film or television or whatever production, you never look at television stories, cinematography. You never did it the same way before you actually became a filmmaker or whatever.
No, so you didn't know about how whatever got reduced to what or summarized in this format. You just figured, hey, it's guys with cameras.
Yeah, so there's many things like shows and films I go back now. I watched growing up as a kid, like, okay, that makes sense why they did like that. I didn't agree with it at the time. Or I'll go back and I love that movie as a kid, but look at
would
it now.
Would it work today
Production,
even without political correctness?
Or even not even that. Like, okay, I love that film, but production was kind of sloppy. Like they could have done a much better.
It was a little workmanlike. It should have been a little more edge of your seat. Yeah.
But again, you never go get films the same way. I don't go into a theater. Like I still enjoy films, but when I'm watching a movie, I'm analyzing or television or whatever. I'm analyzing everything.
Same. Everyone gets so distracted on what device they're watching it on. It's like, just watch it how you would any other movie or show, but they love to be trivial.
I think honestly now, as a since I've went to school, did film in school, and then actually now independently, I think I don't actually really enjoy a film until I watch it the second time through, because the first time I'm just
same too. We're too distracted by the details and the other just stuff we've grown up analyzing. So yeah, everyone owes it to themselves to give anything a second chance. So,
yeah, because you never know. I mean, your mind and
hopefully the following gets that.
Again, it was a great show, and to your listeners, I mean, people, it's really a good show to go watch. Just particularly if you just a Kevin Bacon fan, like
any of the actors, any of the psychological warfare, any of the creepiness, any of the frills.
This was his very first television show. It was definitely worth the watch. Again, a lot of actors that we see.
You love Scream. This is like the spinoff that never happened.
I mean, this is the guy who created Scream. So I mean, it comes from a talented writer. So yeah, check it out. I mean, your listeners here, go check it out. It's a good show. 3 seasons,
mayhem, and intense themes.
And I mean, and a lot of good just character development and just character-driven show.
Kind of development.
Yeah. This is a character-driven show. Things you have with the main character together, particularly Kevin Bacon and Pufoy's character, when they're not like, they do take their time and expanding scenes where they're together, but when they put those two in the same scene, like it's always
dynamite.
Exactly. And that first episode will pull you into the show. I mean, it did it for me. Like that first episode, okay, like I said, I watched it from the day it premiered to the day it was canceled.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up